Welcome. My guest is market strategist Peter S. Cohan, who writes in a recent article in the last week, I think you've noticed that gas prices seem to be inching up, and it's corresponding with Egyptians taking to the streets in a lot of the major cities. Peter, in this recent article, talks about three possible scenarios from this. I'd like to welcome Peter S. Cohan. He's a market strategist, and among other things, he's an author and a teacher. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting, Peter?
Yeah, strategy consulting, venture capital. That's about it. And blogger.
All right, well, good. Well, I appreciate that you blog because a lot of people like me read that. We'll talk about what's going on here with gasoline because even before this, many people have been talking about a June where we're looking at possibly $4 a gallon or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that last August the price of gasoline, of oil, a barrel of oil was about $80 a barrel, which is pretty high, but today, Monday, January 31st, it rose up to about $92.19, which is U.S. oil, and it's gone up about 3% in the last week. A week ago, the price of regular gasoline across the U.S. averaged about $3.11. I would expect it to go up about a dime a gallon. In the grand scheme of things, that is not terrible. But the real key thing that people need to think about is why what is going on in Egypt is going on and what the potential implications are for that as more and more Middle Eastern countries see people taking to the streets.
So we talk about your three possibilities here. The best case scenario is that everything is resolved and it gets relatively peaceful. We have a new leader in power and things pretty much stay as they are, if that's accurate. What could else possibly happen here?
Well, there are people who think that what happened in Egypt is going to inspire people in other countries like Jordan or possibly Libya to take to the streets. Fortunately for people who are oil buyers, neither of these countries are huge controllers of the oil market, although Libya's clearly got more than Jordan does, because Jordan has practically nothing. And I think that is actually the most likely scenario. That's sort of a moderate Middle East scenario of chaos where I could see the price of oil going up fairly significantly, possibly as much as 30% above where it is right now. So somewhere in the 120 to maybe 140 range, with the price of gasoline going somewhere between $4 and $5 a gallon. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that happen. The real big question is what would happen if, for some reason, all this chaos caused people in Saudi Arabia to go onto the street. Now, Saudi Arabia is much, much more significant. It's the leader in the world in terms of oil production, controlling somewhere on the order of 23 to 25% of the global oil market. So if for some reason the people hit the streets in Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabia lost control of its oil supply, that would be a major, major problem where I wouldn't be surprised to see the price of oil go as high as $300 a barrel and people starting to pay $10 a gallon for gasoline. So that would be an absolute worst-case scenario. The good news is that most analysts don't seem to think that that kind of people are going to the streets of Saudi Arabia is that likely. One of the reasons that people are going to the streets in Egypt is because there's been just decades and decades of massive numbers of very, very poor people there who are just have built up tremendous frustration. They saw what happened in Tunisia, and they that made them feel like, what the heck, they might as well just go into the streets, and they're doing it.
Well, if we see gas in this country costing $5 a gallon or as much as $10 a gallon, we'll see many people in this country heading to the streets as well.
Well, I'll tell you, if that happens, it's going to nip any kind of incipient economic recovery in the bud. I mean, people will just stop driving to work and stop doing a lot of stuff that they were doing before. Not to mention the inflation that will happen because so many of the goods that are we buy in the supermarket and that get to our stores are transported with gasoline, and all those prices will go up, and it'll cause a lot of inflation and really crimped down on the economy quite significantly.
And those kinds of prices are not unusual around the rest of the world. I mean, if we suddenly got to 5, if we got to 6, got to 7, maybe as high as 10, you would see, I mean, realistically, a lot of things shutting down, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think you would. And I remember back in July of 2007 when the price of a barrel of oil was 147 and gasoline was over $4, and that was just a few months before the financial crisis started, and it was bad. I mean, I just remember people just not wanting to travel as much, not wanting to buy stuff, and it just really puts a crimp on consumption.
Peter, we appreciate your time. Thanks for talking with us today.
Thank you, Scott.
God help us all. Peter S. Cohan is president of Peter S. Cohan and Associates, and you can find him in Marlborough, Massachusetts. You can find books that he's written. Capital Rising is the most recent one. I'm Scott Drake. Thanks for watching.